become delegations and present your information with the same respect that I'm very hopeful that our council will return to you tonight. So let's hang on and begin. Attendance has been taken. Councillor Gatward is on vacation. Approval of the agenda, but before I ask for the approval of the agenda, there is one mistake on bylaws. Bylaw number L. Please change 770 Mount Pleasant Road to 299 and 301 Oak Hill Drive. So that's in the bylaws. And I'd also like a motion to accept Odette Gomes, thank you, put on the delegations for number 4. All those in favor? Opposed? That just came in today, so she's here, and she wants to speak just for a few minutes. So, number 3 is the declaration of pecuniary interests. Councillor Miller?
A couple things. I'd like to add 2 items under other business, if I could.
Thank you.
And if no one else adds anything, I will move the approval of the agenda. Looking for a seconder.
Councillor Howes? Any other questions to the agenda as amended? All those in favor? Opposed? And carried. Thank you. Delegations. Marilyn from the Optimist Club.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Marilyn McCullough, and I'm the secretary for the Paris Optimist Club. And I've been a member since 1996. So, Mayor Bailey and members of County of Brant Council, thank you for allowing the Paris Optimist Club the opportunity to speak with you this evening. On June 20th, 1949, the Paris Optimist Club received its charter from Optimist International. A group of 22 men saw a need in the community and acted on it, and Carson Luke was the charter president. The Optim's motto at that time was "Friend of the Delinquent Boy." There are no delinquent boys in town, right? Over the years, the motto changed to "Friend of the Boy," and now it is "Friend of Youth," encompassing all youth. The Optimist Club was at one time only open to men, but in 1987, they realized the value of us women. And many of us have joined this great organization, working alongside the men. We don't give them a hard time. We don't. The Paris Optimist Club has provided many programs for the youth of our community and insisted in supplying facilities for them to play sports. In 1977, the Optimists raised $50,000 for the new ice plant in the Sillaps Community Center. And the following year, we funded the lights in Pete Lavoie Little League Park for $14,000. Both of those items are now gone. The Paris Optimist Skate Park was a huge project and is enjoyed by children of all ages. It is our plan to add to the skate park, hopefully in the next year. When the Paris pool was rebuilt, the Optimist Club raised funds for the dressing room area. We donated $5,000 to the Field of Dreams Pete Lavoie Little League Park, which is absolutely gorgeous. Our club continues to sponsor baseball, hockey, football, soccer, ringette, Girl Guides, and Scouts. As well, we provide awards and scholarships each year at Paris District High School, St. John's College, and Tollgate Technological School. At graduation, a grade 8 student is awarded a Spirit of Optimism Award at each of the elementary schools in Paris. This award has nothing to do with academic ability. It has everything to do with being a nice person. We also donate annually to Brant Food for Thought, Down Syndrome, Bite of Brant, Jumpstart, and Camp Trillium, and this year we donated to the Special Olympics. In June, the Optimist Club donated $1,000 to the Playground Improvement Fund at Paris Central School. We also provided a startup fund for a STEM robotics program at Paris Central, which will commence in the fall. It is said that one optimist impacts the life of 33 youth. At present, we have 29 members in our club. If we project that, we find that over 70 years, the Paris Optimist Club has been a positive, contributing influence on approximately 66,990 youth in our community. That's pretty impressive, I think. We are proud to be optimists. We are proud to serve the youth of our community. Now, I have to do a little promo here. To celebrate our 70th anniversary this year, on September 14th at the Paris Fairgrounds, we are having a celebration. And Jimmy G, the most hilarious hypnotist, is going to be the entertainment, and we're going to have a pig roast. So we will have tickets any day now, and we will be very happy to sell you a few tickets. This year is the 100th anniversary of Optimist International, and as I said, our 70th anniversary. We hope you will plan to attend and help us celebrate. And at this time, I would ask fellow optimists to stand, and we will recite the Optimist Creed. And I forgot my copy. Okay, promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all of your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to be just, work only for the best and expect only the best. Be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own. Forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future. To wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile. To be so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others. To be too hard for word, too noble for anger, and too strong to fear, happy to admit the presence of trouble. Thank you, fellow optimists. Again, thank you so much for giving us time, and are there any questions?
Council have any questions to Marilyn? Well, Councillor Wheat.
Repeat that date again, please, Marilyn.
September 14th at the Paris Fairgrounds. And the doors open at 5:30 and the bar opens at 5:30.
Well, I think that you're preaching to the choir here. I know all about service clubs and how much they mean to the community. So much of what we have and what we see and we take for granted, we just assume council did it or somebody did it or it was built by a bequest or something. But I am a firm believer of service clubs. I've been a member of my Rotary Club since 1975, if you can imagine. When I was 17, I was an exchange student and went to Europe. And I've been a member of the Rotary Club for, 44 years since then. So I do understand the good work you do. And I have, as recognition of your charter date, a certificate here from the county. Maybe I'll present it over with your members. And I know that you're celebrating in September, but I'm going to honor the June the 20th, 1949 date. So
Wonderful,
maybe
thank you.
we can do it over here with your members. This is the guy who's elected. Okay, the next delegation is going to be Rachel for the Food for Kids.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel. I want to thank everyone for having us here. I'm a registered social worker, and I run a charity called Food for Kids, Brant, Haldeman. What we do is we provide food packages for kids that are facing food insecurity over the weekends. So what that means is kids that may not have enough healthy foods or foods to meet their nutritional needs. There's a huge need in this community. So we had served, at the end of the school year, we had served 206 kids each week, and it costs $10 per bag per child. Our charity was founded in 2011 in Hamilton, and we've successfully expanded into 7 other organizations like ours throughout the Ontario area. We are in 10 schools, so we're in all of the public schools in 6 Nations area, and we're in 3 public schools in Brantford and 2 Catholic schools in Brantford as well. We are looking to gain more funding so that we can expand into the smaller areas of Brant County, such as Paris, Burford, those types of areas as well. Our main value is that we deliver our bags in a non-stigmatizing way, so there's no announcements made about this program. The kids that we're serving and the families we're serving are already facing so much hardship that we do not want to make that known. So what we do is the kids sneak out a little bit past their last nutrition break, pick up the bags from a resource room, and then put it in their backpacks. We have 2 programs, so we run year-round. So we have a weekend program during the school year where the food's delivered directly to the schools, and then we have a summer program where we deliver it directly to their homes, again, trying to remove any barriers. The kids we serve are between 4 and 14, so I often say we can't expect a 4-year-old to walk to the food bank, pick up the bag, so we need to make sure that when we're delivering our food, that it's done in a way that we're not creating more barriers. Each food bag contains 2 fruits, 2 vegetables, and 2 protein sources a week. We sort of fill in the rest with pasta, oatmeal, fruit cups, granola bars, crackers, cereal, soup, those types of items. We try to have something that resembles some kind of a meal for them. Our program differs from other programs because we have great food for thought is awesome. The work that a lot of service clubs do to help out our community with food is great. Our program is specifically for the weekends, and it runs year-round. We work in collaboration with a lot of different organizations. So we work with the Kiwanis, we work with the Lions here in Paris, we were at Paris Fair, so we're really trying to branch out into this area. We also, how our program differs is we don't ask for any proof of ID. We just need to know there's a need and that we have a referral, whether it's from the parent, the school, or a community organization, or a community member. So I have some stats for you so you can sort of understand the need in this community. 10% of any school population would need additional food services because they're facing some level of food insecurity. In 2014, 8.3% of Brant County households were considered food insecure. So that's a very, very high number. Unfortunately, that's the way it is generally all over Canada, unfortunately. Some areas are a bit better. So what we're looking for from the council, we're wanting to expand our program. So we were at 206 kids in the school year last year. We're at 75 kids we're going to be serving over the summer. So we were hoping to reach about 500 kids plus. That would be the need within inner city schools and the sort of the smaller towns as well. I'm estimating that there's over 500 kids that could use this service to make sure that their health improves, their learning improves, their behavior in school improves. There's been tons of studies how there's a higher graduation rate too when kids' nutritional needs are met. So what we're looking for is to expand this program and hopefully fill all the kids that are needing this service. We currently have about 75 kids on our waiting list. We're going to be attending programs such as the backpack programs that are being done in Paris, as well as the one in Brantford. And that's kind of where we go to get some referrals at the end of the year. And I'm estimating that we'll have another 200 forms signed, ready to go in September. Now, we're not going to be able to serve those kids, so it would cost an additional $120,000 for the year to serve 500 kids. And for the full year to serve 500 kids, because we're already at 200, will cost over $200,000. So we're looking to sort of raise those funds in different ways. We're also looking for volunteers, so I wanted to get the word out about that. We are mainly run by volunteers. I work part-time at this role just due to finances, and that's what we can afford. But we rely on volunteers to do the packing on Thursdays. We rely on volunteers to do the driving to the schools each week. We rely on volunteers to help out with office work and to attend events. So that's generally what we're looking for, and I'll open it up to any questions that people may have.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Any questions to delegation? No? If not, thank you very much.
Thank
and
you
good
so
luck.
much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. The next, Mr. Smith and Mr. Barton.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I am Jim Barton, a member of the Kanesville Community Ad Hoc Committee. First of all, I would like to thank the taxpayers of Kanesville and Onondaga area for supporting a new community center at the new location beside the water tower and the new fire hall. The overwhelming attendance at both public meetings to look at the plans and possibilities was certainly a reminder to Brian Smith and myself why we volunteered to serve on this ad hoc committee that was formed 4 years ago. I would like to thank county staff for their guidance, support, and overviews throughout this process. To thank Brian Smith for his unwavering commitment to the project. Thank Brian Coleman for chairing the committee, for my wife for her support, for all the phone calls, emails, and delivering flyers, and finally, the support of council. We look forward to having an up-to-date facility close to home that supports the social and economic needs of the area. Thank you again.
My name is Brian Smith. Mr. Mayor, councilors, staff, guests all. I'd like to take this opportunity to re-emphasize the importance of this proposed community center. Community members have long awaited for the focus of this particular facility, and it is needed for the growth of our community. The community's interest and support has not faltered in the past 40 years, and total excitement has been throughout the community. The constant enthusiasm that the community members have conveyed while speaking to them illustrates overwhelmingly that we are on the positive path to achieve prosperity for our community. I would like to thank our committee chairman, Councillor Brian Coleman, for his guidance and constant support, for his assistance in making this program worthwhile. I'd also like to thank Michael Bradley on his professional approach and his spirit to help guide us through. I'd like also to thank the remaining members of the community, of the council, and appreciate their support. I'd like to thank Heather Boyd for her communications, and last but not least, Nancy Davis, who kept us on track. But I would really like to express my sincere thanks to a community member that's in the seventh generation here, Mr. Jim Barton, and certainly to his wife, Kathy. They have worked long and hard to help us achieve this particular goal. We hope it's a success, and we thank you and wish for your support.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions to the presenters? No, seeing none, thank you.
Thank you.
4 years is a long time. D on your agenda is Terry Kirby. Mr. Kirby.
My name is Terry Kirby, 53 Kirby Crescent. I'm speaking on behalf of a small creek that I want to see preserved. We all share the same tiny planet. It is the only one available. 2.5 million years ago, a creature on the steppes of Africa began chipping stones into tools. 3.7 million years ago, a family walked across the river flat of muddy volcanic ash and left perfectly preserved footprints that one can see today, nearly identical to our own. These were our ancestors embarking on a journey, eating of the fruit of the tree of truth and knowledge. We are all African. Today, your descendants tear down mountains, build mighty rivers, work in massive skyscrapers, pollute the oceans with 150 million tons of plastic garbage, destroy the ozone in their atmosphere, and treat the water they drink as a convenient way to dispose of their sewage. When will they ever learn? You have a chance to change this. You have a chance to protect a small, unnamed creek. You have a chance to do the right thing. You have a right to protect this heritage land. You have a right to drink clean water. You have an obligation to keep that water clean for those who follow, for your descendants. Please vote against application PS 316MD and ask for a revised application that leaves the heritage zone intact. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Are there any questions to the presenter? Seeing none. Seeing none, thank you for coming. And number E, Hugh McNeil.
Just getting it into the, oh, right here. Mayor Bailey, members of council, thank you again for the opportunity to speak to you tonight to discuss the merits of the proposed development, reiterate our responses to the questions and comments that were expressed from the public and members of committee during the Planning Advisory Committee on July 10th. We wish to provide some assurance that ongoing consultations, study work, design work have been completed to support the application, have been completed to the requirements set forth in the original consultation meeting with the county, the GRCA in 2015, the draft plan requirements, comments received from the county, the GRCA, and external agencies. The proposed development is designated in the official plan as suburban residential, as shown on the slide above. The site design considered the following elements, the surrounding elements of the site, while developing the lot fabric and design strategies, including the protection of potential impacts to the existing residential subdivision to the south, improvement of sight lines within Greens Road to the west, the existing valley lands and topography of the site, conveyance of stormwater from the site and from upstream lands through the site up to the 250-year event, slow protection and maintenance of the proposed channel through the site, enhancement of water quantity and water quality and water balance requirements, use of municipal potable water to be provided by the new water tower, and use of private septic systems for wastewater disposal. So I don't know how well you can see these figures, but so these are photos taken from the natural heritage study that was completed by NSRI, showing the valley lands through the site, basically a farm field with a depression through the site. As you note, it's dry most of the time. These particular photos show it being dry cutting through the site. This is from the conclusion of the natural heritage study, basically noting that the existing valley land does not contain a watercourse, active erosion, or deposition, nor does it contain wetlands, seeps, or springs. Distinct geomorphologic landforms, including oxbows and other fluvial geomorphic features, are not present within the existing valley feature. Vegetation consists of pasture land and does not contain woody vegetation. In addition, there's limited habitat and does not contain, linkage value within the valley land. For these reasons and others summarized in the tables from the environmental report, the valley land was deemed not to be significant. Just an important note. When we look at the topography for the site, this is a proposed profile of the subdivision through Greens Road. The dashed line that you see there is the existing topography. Obviously, the valley down in the bottom end. Actually, there's a pointer in front of me, isn't there? So that's the bottom of the existing channel. And as you can see, we're just going to cut the steeper banks away and normalize the slope through the proposed profile. The subdivision lots will also follow the same profile as the road. So normalizing rather than taking flat and steepening that up. There were concerns about runoff and topography. As we heard through the previous committee meeting, there was concerns about sediment and erosion coming from a downstream irrigation pond. That pond is located approximately 500 meters downstream of the proposed site. In terms of stabilizing the site, the photo here you see on the screen is what is typically installed during site construction, stripping topsoil, doing earthworks. It's heavy-duty erosion control fence that will basically prevent silt and sediment from entering the watercourse. So that would be installed at the top of the watercourse during construction. The existing channel that goes through the site, again, just wanted to put this up to show that this is an engineered channel versus in terms of replacing the existing channel. There's a low flow stream and then high water level. That would be the 250-year level and the top of the bank. So just to reiterate that we are conveying everything up to the 250-year storm safely through the site from the upstream catchments and the existing development. This particular cross-section shows where the channel would sit and how the houses sit relative to the channel. So here's your channel, 250-year water level. That channel is 17 meters wide with a 6-meter block on one side and 6-meter erosion access on the other. The existing easement that runs through the site now is approximately 30 feet or 10 meters wide, whereas the new basically protected area, which we're referring to in the zoning as the natural heritage zoning, is about 3 times the width of almost 30 meters wide. So it would provide an enhanced protected area based on what's there today. We talked previously about the stable slopes and engineered slopes. So that channel that I showed you, basically once that channel is cut, there's an engineered erosion protection mat installed. Then it's planted. When it's done, it looks something like that. And during house construction and whatnot, there are core logs installed through the bottom of the channel to capture any sediment that might come down the stream, whether it be from existing upstream or on-site during site stabilization. This figure just shows through the stormwater management, there was a concern about increased runoff from the site. This is basically the stormwater management model showing the pervious versus impervious areas and how we calculate the runoff. And in our case, through the site design, we are containing up to the 100-year event. So we're actually reducing the amount of runoff that would come off that site in the future. This is the current, this is from the stormwater report, this is the previous iteration of the lots. But again, it just, we talked about low impact development and the installation of infiltration systems. The roads will contain within this hatched area in the middle. Any runoff from there will go on the roads. Any runoff from the lots will go through rear yard swales and infiltration systems. Again, just another cross-section looking across your road system, your rear yard infiltration systems. This is the existing subdivision to the south. We heard concerns through the last meeting about, potential runoff from the site getting to this lot. These lots actually drain back towards the subdivision. There is a berm here, and then all the runoff up to the 100-year storm would be infiltrated into these rear yard low-impact development systems. Again, just in a little more detail, we talked about these LID systems with a shallow ditch. Under each ditch is an infiltration system. Any runoff from the road gets captured in these and stored up to the 100-year event before it discharges out to the new channel. And again, just some details about what the system looks like in the rear yards and under the roads. The road catch basins will contain filter bags. These filter bags are engineered to capture all the fine sediments so that sediment doesn't make its way through the system. That includes any winter road salts and whatnot. Those road catch basins also contain what's called a gauze trap, so the liquid that does come in, if there's any floatables in there, oil, gas, anything, they float there. They can't outlet to the infiltration system. So again, another level of quality control protection. Just a little blow up again of the rear yard systems, runoff from the roofs, and the rear yards will all get captured at the rear yard property line. And that's what a typical system might look like in terms of a swale and the system below it. Talked about the 10-meter wide existing easement. The new hatched area shows the increase in protected area of the channel coming through the site. Again, an enhancement to what's there today. And in plan view, it's shown on the draft plan as the 17-meter block, 6-meter block, and 6-meter erosion access that will be dedicated for stormwater management purposes. The additional lot that was added was a result of this was previously a dry pond. We've eliminated the dry pond with the infiltration systems, gave us an opportunity to add one lot to the proposed draft plan. And this is the grading plan from the subdivision to the south. I know it's hard to see here, but there is a berm that covers those lots where their stormwater or our stormwater can't get past that berm. There's a couple lots here that have a swale. I've only got about a minute left, I believe. I believe I've covered off everything we discussed at the previous meeting and the concerns that we've heard about that. I guess I can leave you with a few final points. We heard a lot of concerns about sediment into the existing channel. And in this case, there will be no more tractors. We heard about the tractors going through and stirring up sediment and runoff from different crops. In this case, the site will be stabilized for the long term in terms of we have the quality control devices we talked about, and then runoff will be controlled from sod versus a farmed field. So it's going to be a stable site for the long-term future. Thanks.
Thank you for your presentation. Does council have any questions to the presenter? Councillor House.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the details. Boiling it down into layman's terms specific to the concerns about the creek. Your proposal is taking steps to protect the creek, and has the GRCA given their blessing to this design?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, so we have been in consultation at the initial consultation meeting. GRCA was there. We prepared a conceptual swim report. They reviewed it, provided comments, and we addressed the comments that were provided by the GRCA, implementing additional quality control measures. And in addition to that, they have been on site on 2 different occasions to review the existing conditions of the channel and have since approved our updated conceptual report.
Any other questions? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the presenter, those engineered bags that you showed that captured the silt and the salt, do they need to be replaced periodically?
They do. They can be vacuumed with a vac truck, just as you would normally under the normal maintenance system. You'd vacuum out the sumps in the catch basins. These filter bags can be vacked out with a vac truck, and then they get replaced when they wear out every several years. It depends on how much use they get and how much runoff. Given the size of the development, there's not that many. There aren't that many lots, so it's pretty. I think we've got about 8 catch basins in total.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we're going to go to 4F.
Good evening, Your Worship, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Odette Gomes. I'm a planner with IBI Group, and I'm here representing Watts Pond Development for their subdivision known as Watts Pond Subdivision. I'm here in support of staff's report and the recommendation for the approval of our request to extend our draft plan of subdivision approval. The Watts Pond subdivision is dependent on the subdivision to the east for services. We weren't able to proceed with our detailed design work until such time that roads and service connections were established. So we understand that that work is now completed and we're ready to proceed with our detailed design work and fulfilling the conditions of our draft plan approval. So I'm just here tonight to ask you to support the recommendation that's before you and to allow for us to extend our draft plan approval so that we can move forward with our subdivision. I thank you very much for giving me a little bit of time to speak tonight, and I'm just happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions to the presenter? Seeing none, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, council, how do you want to, what do you want to do with these? 4A, motion to receive as information. Yeah, Councillor House, Councillor Pierce. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. B, receive in, Councillor Coleman. Can we also send it to the 2020 budget for consideration? Councillor Coleman, thank you, and Councillor House. Any other conversation? All those in favor? Thank you. C, how do you wish to, Councillor Pierce?
Receive and thank them for their support of this project.
Seeking a seconder, Councillor Coleman. Any other discussion? Call the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. D and E. Perhaps we could, thank you, Councillor Laferriere. Any other discussion? Maybe refer it to the Planning Advisory Committee. Thank you. Okay. All those in favor? Thank you. Number 5, we have to do a public hearing under the Planning Act regarding Kingwood Homes. I would like to declare the public hearing open, and I would like to invite Michael Bradley to present on the application.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I'll call on Mr. Davison in a few moments to speak to the application. I just wanted to clarify with Council why you're receiving this evening. It is a bit rare. I think it happens once in a while, but not very often. This is a draft plan of subdivision submitted to council or committee for approval, council for approval, and it was intended to go to the PAC meeting this month. And there was a minor error on the notices that went out to the public. And in an abundance of caution, because these things are very clearly articulated in the Planning Act, we made a decision to reissue that notice, which then altered the timelines to consider it at a public meeting. We do consider this to be a strategic application, as it has 60 acres of employment land in it, as well as a good mix of residential and commercial uses. So we're asking council to consider it this evening out of the normal sequence that you would normally see it, which would be to come to a planning advisory committee meeting and then come to council for approval. So with that, if committee is, or if council's prepared, I would ask Mr. Davison to provide a short summary of the application in front of you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you. Marcus, you're on.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Just very quickly, the area is really surrounding the Brant Sports Complex. It's to the southeast, bounded by power line to the north, the 403 to the south, Potter's Road to the east, and Rest Acres to the west. It is a unique subdivision in the fact that we're dealing with 3 different land uses. Residential, there's 400 400 units. There is a 10-hectare commercial space as well as a 20-hectare employment space. Lands are presently zoned agriculture, general commercial, and resource extraction. So the commercial zoning was established back in the early 90s, and actually it permits kind of a fifth wheel style of development on partial services. So we have worked pretty comprehensively with the owners as well as the consultants to come up with a much better entry feature to the town of Paris. It will be subject to future applications for site plan control. So again, we're looking at 400 units, commercial and employment. This is the proposed site plan, and it does have a parkland feature, or I guess a trail system that would connect east-west, connecting to the Gurney outlet to the south, and there is also an outlet to the north that would connect for walkability as well. There are a list of draft conditions that were attached. There was correspondence from Nsri Homes requesting a modification to draft condition number 45. It's my understanding that there was an arrangement and discussions between the consultants and Nsri Homes, and the consultant could probably speak to that a little bit better, but that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Marcus. Are there any questions to Marcus? Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. So just for clarification, Marcus, I just want to, in case people are wondering here, because we've done our tap the brakes on our building and such, I just want to be clear here that this is something that's been on the books for several years, so it's not new, and I just want everybody to understand that. Is that correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you. Through you to Marcus. Now, I brought this up before, but in the conditions, we don't get any say over how it looks when you're coming off the 403 or anything, do we?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there will be an opportunity, site plan control. All of the employment and all of the commercial will be subject to site plan control. Those do have the opportunity to get bumped up, so they could be in front of this committee.
I just, being kind of a gateway to the Paris area, I think it's important, so thanks.
Councillor Ferrier.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. During the site plan control timing, is that when we may be able to hear a little bit more about, as the previous presenter talked about, low impact development, low impact design attributes to this quite large development?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, that is the appropriate time. Those details will come out through the engineering of that, absolutely.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Marcus. In the draft bylaw which comes with this presentation, can you explain to me why we are varying from the R1 bylaw in terms of accepting smaller lot sizes, which really packs in the number of houses into this area? What's the logic behind that?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, there is a wide range of there are single detached units, there are smaller frontages. It really allows for a variety of a mix of housing, a different type of housing. We have street townhouses in here. We have a multi-density block, as well as some smaller style frontages. So in our opinion,
it does allow for a mix of housing, and it is a variance from the zoning bylaw, but staff was comfortable with the request as it is kind of along kind of the power line road and then tying in with the medium density. So we thought it would flow well throughout the site.
Yeah, I guess I'm not comfortable with that answer. It sounds like it's just packing more houses into the space, which is a commercial issue rather than a standing by our bylaw issue. And I'm just feel like we're accommodating the developer here to get more money out of this development than otherwise would be the case.
Marcus, could you make Councillor Bell feel any better?
Through Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure if I can make him feel any better, but it is not unique to allow variances to the frontages. It's happened along Rest Acres, heading to the north in the Mile Hill and in the Riverview Highland product, as well as even on the west side. I believe we have live developments and they are smaller frontages. So it is in keeping with the provincial policy statement, and I know we are reducing the size, but it does allow for a better range of housing as well.
Best I can do, Councillor Bell.
Yeah, may I ask one more question?
Sure.
Is there a H designation on this zoning bylaw amendment?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there is not.
Councillor Wheat, do you have anything?
I have the recommendation if you're ready for it.
Okay, we'll take Councillor House first then.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, just a quick question following up on Councillor Bell's point. That by going with some different mix of houses, is there an opportunity that some of the houses might be on the more affordable end of the spectrum with a smaller size?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe that is the intent, is to allow for that range, which would allow for the range of housing prices as well.
Thank you.
Seeing this is a public hearing, is there any member of the audience that would like to speak? Agent, sorry. Speak to the agent. Yeah. Do you have a presentation?
I do, but
it's been, okay. All right.
Good evening. My name is Eric Salaslaya. I'm a planner with GSP Group. We're the plan consultants for Kingwood Homes, the owner of this. I do have a presentation, but it's mainly images, and basically I'd like to identify that we've read the staff report as well as the draft conditions of approval and the draft zoning bylaw, and we're in support of the staff recommendation. Just on the question about the range and mix of units, it does provide a full range, as Mr. Davidson said, of affordability and housing types. And it's well located in terms of proximity to the recreation center, as well as future employment and commercial opportunities as well. So basically, the gist of my presentation, I can put it up here if there's any questions that council has. But I'm just here to say that we're here in support of the application and the recommendation therein, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot about you there.
Yeah, no problem.
Any questions to the presenter, to the applicant? Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I know I mentioned it to you, and again, I'll say it again. I don't know how far you guys go on the project, but when it's being developed, maybe you can press home the fact that we would like something visually appealing when people get off the 403.
Right, and part of the zoning bylaw amendment, we heard your comment, I think, at the public meeting back in October. And part of the zoning bylaw that's recommended for the employment area along the 403 is a prestige industrial employment, which has a higher degree of urban design direction in terms of the official plan. And as Mr. Davidson said too, that will be subject to site plan approval and review. So between the zoning and site plan approval, there will be an attractive gateway to the community.
Any other questions? Councillor Bell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sorry to go back to the earlier question about holding, but in the the conditions of final approval, items 3 and 4 on page 22 refer to holding zones. So I'm still not entirely clear whether there are holding zones on this proposal or not.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Our understanding in terms of discussion with planning staff is it was sort of a standard template type of condition. There are no holding provisions recommended in this and as part of the zoning bylaws. So I guess, you know, just in terms of the conditions there, I think there's some wording in the condition if necessary, but in our opinion, and maybe staff can provide further clarification to this, our understanding is that that's some standard conditions that were brought forward in this recommendation.
Councillor Bell?
The corollary of that is then if there are no holding conditions, when would you expect to start working on this development?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and we've got the clients, our clients Kingwood here as well as their engineer. They're hoping to start on it relatively in short order. There are some aspects of enabling infrastructure for that not only serve this development but also surrounding developments, including a large centralized stormwater management facility. So we're anticipating, you know, subject to the decision that council makes, that they'd be going in for some site alteration permits for some initial work anyway, and then proceed to work in terms of registering various phases and stages of this subdivision in accordance with the draft approval therein.
Sorry, could you tell me then when that will happen?
When? Yeah. I think they're hoping to commence as quickly as possible. So maybe the site alteration would be coming in shortly. And then it all depends in terms of satisfying conditions. So they would be like
I thought we were the politicians.
So. Yeah, no. Well, given when the application, they'd like to start tomorrow, I guess. But I think as quickly as possible, just in terms of the phases. We're anticipating that they'd be starting on the residential phase first, if that provides the clarification.
Perhaps you could send us a copy of your schedule once it's determined to let us know when. I know it's not going to be tomorrow, and you said hopefully it could be, but we know that's not going to happen.
That is correct.
So you could maybe keep us informed as to what you're up to.
Yep, through you, yep, we certainly can.
Satisfy you, Mr. Bell? Yeah, any other questions? So at this point, we will open it up to the audience. Does anyone have any questions to the applicant from the audience? Wants to speak to the application? To the application. Seeing none, I'll ask for the second time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the application? Seeing none. Mr. Kirby, would you like to approach the podium, please?
So my name is Terry Kirby. I live at 53 Kirby Crescent. And when reviewing all the stuff that I could get my hands on about this creek and various things that went on, one of the things that came up was that you sometimes take cash in lieu of land. And what I would like to ask the developer here is if there is some provision in this plan, I couldn't see any, for some sort of playing field, sports playing field, a baseball diamond soccer field, and why that wouldn't be set aside somewhere, you know, perhaps where there's a swale or something that's not as appropriate for housing. Sure. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Davidson, where is he? He's coming.
Through Mr. Mayor, there is a 10-meter wide walkway block that runs east-west, which would equate to the 5% that is required for parkland dedication. In our estimation, it doesn't require a park to the northeast. In the Mile Hill development, there is a park and stormwater facility, as well as to the east. The Gurney stormwater outlet is going to have playing fields on that. So We thought it was more important to have the connectivity, and it is a 10-meter wide buffer, and it will provide separation between the residential and the employment uses as well.
For the third time, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to the application? Seeing none, we will close the public hearing. How do you want to handle this? Councillor Wheat?
I have the recommendation. Approved by myself and second by Member McAlpine that ZBA 11-18-MD and PS 2-18-MD regarding Kingswood Homes be approved. And it's written on your agenda on the second page, rather than me read it for the next 10 minutes.
Does everyone see where Councillor Wheat is looking at the bottom of page 2?
That's at the top. It's at the top of page 2.
Sorry. I have different pages. It's at the bottom of my page. Okay. Any questions, Councillor Wheat? Councillor Chambers?
Just in terms of process, Mr. Mayor, this is actually a council recommendation. That will be the real thing. It's not a planning committee recommendation. It's actually, this is the recommendation. So this will conclude the item of business. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's right. Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's a request, a letter from Lasani asking us to amend draft condition 45. And I was wondering if that's something we should be looking at, or if Marcus could speak to that.
I can if you.
Councillor Wheat thinks he can speak to it. Councillor
Yes, Lozani has been in negotiation with the developer, and they're working on an agreement away from public forum. But they're working towards an agreement. I believe Marcus stated that in his presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Miller, are you okay with that answer? Do you want to hear from Marcus? Okay. Any other questions for Councillor Wheat? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. That takes us to item 6 on the agenda, the adoption of the minutes for the previous meetings. There are 2. Councillor McAlpine.
Moved by myself, the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting, and seconded by Councillor Wheat.
Any questions about the minutes of the last 2 meetings for Councillor McAlpine? Seeing none, call the vote to accept. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Is there any business arising from those minutes that we know of? Seeing none, we'll go to the consent items. Consent items to be approved. Councillor Miller?
Just the business arising from the minutes. I just want to confirm, because we passed a resolution from Councillor Laferriere to share animal services. Did Brantford pass the same resolution?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to check on that. Thank you.
Councillor Miller?
A1, that the following consent, moved by myself, second by Councillor Coleman, that the following item be approved, and that's the application from IBI Group on behalf of Watts Pond Development. Be delayed again for another 3 years.
Any questions to Councillor Miller? Councillor House?
Through you, Mr. Chair, I had a question on this one, and I don't know whether it's a staff question or. Am I clear that the developer originally took the county to the OMB for processing the application too slowly, but now we're granting an extension of 3 years, and I was just trying to understand a little better the details of the leading up to that.
Okay, I'll let staff speak to that. I do know if they didn't extend it, it would lapse, and then they would have to go through the whole process again. So, and I know as far as the delay went, they did work that out prior to the OMB hearing, but if staff wants to
Are you
answer.
good with that, Councillor House? Did you want Marcus to come back up?
If Marcus could just clarify the details a little bit. Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, you're correct. It was appealed for lack of action. Unfortunately, with the lands to the east, the Brookfield subdivision, it was really dependent on the lands to the east and the servicing of such. So we kind of knew we were in a situation where we were going to have to wait until Brookfield finished, and we weren't sure how long that was going to be. Now that Brookfield is registered, it actually was registered yesterday, so we are now in a position where we can start working with Goosemoor.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Miller? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Consent items to be received. Councillor Ferrier, do you want to do B first?
Now, there's an error, I think, on my sheet because it says 8B only, but it includes C as well.
I've got B and C.
Yes, so there's a difference between the official agenda and this resolution sheet, but all the items are there, so I will just read it. Moved by myself, seconded by Member Howes, 8B and C, I've added that. Consent items to be received as information, 1 through 8. Or as you might see it on yours, 1 through 3, and then I through V.
Does anyone want anything removed, or do you want to discuss anything separately? Any questions to Councillor Ferrier? If not, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Takes us to number 9, committee reports. We'll start with 9A, which is the Kanesville Community Center Ad Hoc Committee. Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Mayor Bailey, that the Kanesville Community Center Ad Hoc Committee report of June 19, 2019 be approved.
Are there any questions to Councillor Coleman? Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to ask about how it's being paid for. Now, I know you said initially long-term debt. Is there some land sales that we were going to apply to that?
Councillor Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's possible land sales for the old community center. We also purchased that land for a new fire hall along with everything else to go along with that. The community is planning on doing fundraising. That I can assure you. I've already committed $1,000, and there is another one that is contributed also, will remain anonymous, and there is others that are talking about it. So there will be the community funded, and this will be funded by long-term debt.
Councillor Miller.
Yeah, I'll say I support the community center in Kanesville. I think they need something out there, and a lot of thought's gone into the size of it and location. That's not the issue, but I'll express concern, I guess, about building it in a year when we're building a police station, 3 fire halls. I am a little concerned about the long-term debt. I asked Heather about it earlier today. She gave me a good answer. So, like I said, I support the project. I am concerned about long-term debt, and I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Any other questions to Councillor Coleman? Seeing none, and knowing that this is going to go further, it's going to move on. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, before I move on with this, I just want to thank the committee members. Maybe they're gone. They must have shot this was going to go right through. Anyhow, just my thanks to you, Mayor Bailey, for sitting on this committee. Former Mayor Eddy was sitting on this for 3 years before that, and Councillor Goward and staff. This has been a long time coming, and we really appreciate council's support. Thank you.
Thank you. 9B, Community Services, Councillor Pierce.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bell, that the Community Service Committee report of July the 8th be approved, noting there are 3 recommendations.
Questions to Councillor Pierce? Councillor Wheat.
On my report, it's got myself listed instead of you, John.
Yeah, I sent an email to Heather on that.
Noting
it's fixed up on this one here, though, so we're good.
Okay.
Noting the correction, is there any other questions to Councillor Pierce? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Corporate Development, Councillor Chambers.
It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Pierce that the Corporate Development Committee report of July 8th 2019 be approved.
Questions, Councillor Pierce?
Can I have recommendation 2 pulled?
2? Yeah. Councillor Coleman, you had something? Okay, when you find it, let me know. What else? Did anyone else have any questions? Okay, number 2.
Maybe we'll talk about 2 first.
Yeah.
Number 15, Mr. Mayor.
Number 15, thank you. So 2 and 15. Councillor Chambers. You want to speak to number 2?
No, I would like to speak to
Oh,
number
you would
2.
like to speak to number 2. Sorry, Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. So number 2, just for everybody's, to recall everybody, it's for the donation to the firefighters, for the firefighting, that's I guess it's the yearly annual OFFA that's coming to town. There was a recommendation put through that we support them with a $500 donation from council. At the corporate development meeting, I had put forth a motion that I wanted to fund the entire cost of what it was going to cost them to rent the fairgrounds for that, for I believe it's 4 days, 5 days. At that point in time, we didn't have a confirmed price on it, so the motion went through for the $500. We have confirmed the price of what it's going to cost them to rent the facilities for the week, which is $8,000, okay? I totally understand that the county at this point in time, through the fire department, is putting a large sum of money into this showcase, is what I'm going to call it, because we're going to have, you know, several hundred firefighters from across Ontario that are going to be coming to our town to celebrate this event. And we need to keep in mind what the firemen do for us in this community and what they put back into this community. So I would look to amend recommendation number 2, looking for a seconder that I would like to go back to what I was looking at the other week and fund it for the $8,000.
Councillor Weed is seconding, is going to second your motion. Is there any more discussion on that? There's a big difference between $500 and $8,000.
There is.
There is. Councillor Laferriere.
Again, I don't want anybody to say I'm supporting cats over firefighters or whatever it might be, but I think something that we need to discuss. I don't mind this necessarily, but something of this nature, I wish it had come to us earlier, not because of the funds, but because of the opportunities to co-sponsor. You know, this is happening in a very short period of time, and something like this I wish had been brought to us 3 months, 4 months ago possibly, to go through the process, and also then to leverage that potential funding to other funders in the community. Hey, the county's getting on board, I'd like to get on board too. I think that in the future we should maybe, I may support this, I may not, I'm going to listen to the discussion, but in the future, I think a little more lead time would be beneficial, not just to us, but to the community, to the firefighters, and to their fundraising efforts as a whole. They didn't ask for any money, so that's something to consider, but I know that there's been discussions with individual councillors since then, so I'll wait the discussion before I decide, but just one thing that just kind of, I just wish had happened a little differently. No fault of anyone.
Councillor Pierce?
Thank you, sir. If I could respond to that. I hear what you're saying, but if we look back at our community service minutes from several months ago, it's been noted a couple times that this is coming. So the community service minutes go through to council minutes, so it has been documented that this is coming, but I appreciate where you're coming from.
Councillor Howes?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. And just in response to the sponsorship question, my understanding from following this a little bit through social media from the firefighters is that they have been taking steps to secure sponsors for different elements of their event. And just to reiterate the point that Councillor Laferriere made, the firefighters did not come here looking for money.
Correct.
Anything that we end up contributing to this event is it's us showing support to them. It's not them coming to us hat in hand. So, thank you.
Councillor Miller?
Yeah, I thought 500 was a little cheap, 8,000 a little expensive, so I won't support 8,000 because, as I found out tonight, we are contributing through the fire department anyway, so we'll see how it goes.
Councillor Wheat?
Yes, I second it. Thank you, Your Worship, for allowing me to speak to this. I'm in support of it. The 8,000, you'll find all of our volunteer fire departments in the county of Brant are the same. They kind of work quietly. They don't go around with their hand out looking for things. They try to do things on a very quiet, mannerly fashion. And this is a golden opportunity. They're bringing a lot of people in here for 8 days into our municipality. A lot of those people will eat in our restaurants, they'll stay in our hotels, and they'll go to our attractions. And I think it's an opportunity we need to get behind our volunteer fire department. They just don't go running around patting themselves on the back. That's just not their nature. Thank you.
Does anyone want to speak to number 2 before we vote on it? Seeing none, I'll call the vote to support the firefighters in the amount of the $8,000 they need for the entire time of their event. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Chambers, you look nervous.
Yeah, I'm assuming that that was an amendment to the recommendation.
Yes.
And now we're going to vote on the recommendation as amended.
All right. Call the vote. All those in favor? Thank you. Number 15, was it, Councillor Cohen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I wonder if this was a recommendation that got put forward after a letter from a resident. I wonder if this is a little bit premature, this motion at the time. If we are going to review our council and committee status and everything else, maybe we can review everything at once and see that, but we can live stream everything. Just picking and choosing. One of these is already done right now. Gainesville Community Center is done. And I have concerns about the Agriculture Advisory Committee because it is an all-citizen committee other than Councilor Miller. So when you're asking citizens to be on committees and then you're going to live stream it without their approval, maybe they may have second thoughts about sitting on that committee. And I think we need to maybe defeat this one right at the appropriate time as now, and then look at this whole situation in the fall when I thought the staff was going to bring a report back on how our committee structures are going to be and whatnot. I just think this is premature at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Defer it.
Yep, Councillor Ferrier.
Well, actually, it needs to be put as a motion before I can.
Yeah, you're not seconding it. Councillor Coleman is looking for a seconder. Councillor Chambers. Okay, now Councillor Ferrier.
It's my understanding that there's only 2 rooms currently set up that can live stream, and this is one of them. And that would be the other one that's in county land. Is that correct?
I believe so.
I only know this one.
This one.
So the equipment isn't there to actually do any streaming or videotaping at this time?
Your Worship, through you, if any committees are going to be streamed, it would have to be in this room right now. It's the only room we have to live stream. So.
Okay.
Councillor Miller.
I'll speak about the Ag Advisory Committee. They last met in May. They're going to meet in September. They're going to walk into this room, and I'm going to tell them then and there, you're being streamed. I'd rather give them a little bit of an opportunity to know that ahead of time, that's all. So I would support the tabling motion at this time.
Councillor Howes.
Yeah, and just in support of Councillor Coleman's point, I'm involved in a few of the committees, and I've never had anyone come to me and say, I wish there were more of these committee meetings available on video. The big committee meetings that involve the majority here, people enjoy watching them on video, but other committees like Heritage and Economic Development and I have not had people say that. Very rarely do we even have anybody come and watch them live in terms of an audience. So I would support deferring this to another time as a broader scope discussion.
Any other discussions or opinions? Can we call the vote on the deferral? Yeah, calling the vote to defer. All those in favor? Thank you. Any opposed? Oh, Councilor Ferrier. Noted, thank you. Yeah, we need to vote on the balance of the items on the report. That's it? Everyone's good? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, second by Councilor Miller, that the Public Works Committee report on July 9th, 2019 be approved, noting their 6 recommendations.
Any questions to Councilor Coleman? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We're going to go to the Planning Advisory Committee. Councilor Wheat.
It's moved by myself, second by Member McAlpine, the Planning Advisory Committee report of July 10th, 2019 be approved.
Any questions for Councilor Wheat? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Staff reports, number 10.
Forgot
Brant.
INF.
Oh,
Mr.
there you
Mayor.
go, sorry.
No worries. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Bell, that the Brant County OPP Detachment Committee meetings of July 17th be received for information purposes.
Any questions to Councilor Pierce? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Staff reports, 10A. Recording.
10A, is Brant me?
Oh, I'm Tim.
We can do it in unison if you want.
Councilor House.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Miller, the approval of 10A COU-19-24, the award of the Brant E-Ride contract to the BTS network following recommendation from the IBI group.
Are there any for Councilor House? Councilor Miller.
Well, I don't know if Councilor House could answer, but I got a couple questions about the whole E-Ride thing, and, well, actually 2 questions. BTS network, do they just, are they like an Uber where they just set up the software, or do they have vehicles? I'm curious.
I can answer this.
Councilor House.
I do not have the answer to that question.
Councilor Ferrier.
Yes, they're actually the system. They actually operate some E-Ride systems in other jurisdictions. They do have fleet vehicles, and they also have, but they have, I researched it as well. They have fleet vehicles, they have drivers, they do screenings, drug screenings of their drivers, things like that. They hire drivers to come in as well. And they, I believe, have an app on the go as well.
Okay, and that's where I was going with that question. I want the driver screen. It doesn't always prevent everything, but if we could minimize that, it'd be great. And the second question, and Councillor McAlpine and I had this question asked of us yesterday by one of the owners of one of our taxi companies, is what do we know, if any, might be the impacts on our local taxi companies from
I
this?
think I'd like staff to come up to the podium to be of it. Not that we don't trust you, Councilor Ferrier, but I want staff to come up and speak to both questions if she could.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So to answer your first question, actually, Councillor Laferriere did his homework, and what he stated about BTS, they do provide the vehicles, the fleet for the transit program, and they do have an extensive screening hiring process for their drivers, and they are partnering with a company called Rideco for the technology piece. So they have an app with expansive capabilities in scheduling, taking in calls, and that sort of thing. So,
Councillor Bell. Oh, okay.
There was one question about how it may impact the taxi companies, and then I want to ask about the STPs as well.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I guess for staff, it's difficult to predict how it will impact the taxi companies. This is meant to provide transit service for residents of the County of Brant. So, you know, they can choose to schedule transit through this program Monday to Friday through a scheduled system of 9, every 3 hours. This program is available. Outside of that, if they want to call for a taxi, certainly that's up to the resident.
Okay, to be honest, that was our answer. We didn't know, so I guess we'll wait and see. Last question. Will this replace the STP?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it will. It will encompass accessible transit as well as transit provided to any resident within the community.
Okay, because I'm looking at the budget for this, and I'm just wondering, I'm not sure what the STP budget is, 180,000, 200,000, whatever. Would that go to offset these costs? That's what I'm wondering.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, it does.
Okay, which is good then. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Cindy. The same gentleman that spoke to Councillor Miller and Councillor McAlpine engaged with me today. I answered him a question that he raised with me. I told him that we had gone through extensive consultation ahead of choosing this proposed mode of transit for the county, and that he, along with any other citizen, was given plenty of opportunity to offer comments and challenges to the system. Am I correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
Thank you. Second question, having now chosen who we would like to run this program, what are we doing in terms of branding the program so that it's very clear when I'm walking down a street in the county that this is a Brant or E-Ride vehicle? Am I going to see a blue and white or blue and green or yellow and red branding with E-Ride written on it?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that was part of the proposal, and marketing and communications for the program was extremely important as part of that. So it definitely will be branded. The vehicles that are used for the system will be clearly branded as well. All of the drivers will be uniformed. There will be information on our website, and we'll be working really hard on marketing the program in advance of the soft launch date in October.
Okay, and final question, the vehicles and the drivers, are they dedicated to this program?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's great news. (10B), the always stop control has that. Councillor Bell.
Yeah. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pearce. Item 10B, COU-19-25, proposal for an always stop control at Capron Street and St Andrew Street and Jury Street.
Any questions for Councillor Bell? Councillor Pearce.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I have a comment, so if nobody else has a question, I'll go now or
Any
I'll wait.
questions before we have comments? Let's do comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment on this one, and this is one of those stories, I guess, where the public safety come into concern because the reports that were done and everything that was looked at on this stated that it didn't really necessitate a stop sign due to traffic volumes. The factor of this was public safety, and I think that's fantastic that bared as much weight as it did because it is very important. And I just wanted to note on this one here that it was absolutely public safety that was the final decision maker on this, and kudos to staff and the rest for going that way.
Good, thank you. Any other comments before we call the vote? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Number C, Councillor McAlpine, insurance renewal.
Yep. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Pearce, that the COU 1926 insurance renewal be approved.
Any questions? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, I would presume. I'm astounded by the increase in the premium that our current supplier is asking of us. Delighted that the other supplier, Cowan, can offer us a lower premium for, I presume, the same service. My question, though, is why, if it's known, why BFL put such a large premium on the decrease in premium in deductible from 50 to 75k. They went from 1.5 million to 1.1 million, whereas Cowan only dropped by about $40,000. Is there something we're missing? Something I'm not understanding here?
Mr. Bradley? Oh?
It's page 218.
I'm not sure whether we have an answer. It looks like, Kim, do you have an answer?
Oh, okay.
Kim, okay, I'll ask Kim DaCosta, who's the author of the report. And Kim has taken on management of our insurance program from Lyndale, and we'll answer the questions.
Right into the fire.
Thank you.
It's an easy one.
Sure. Through Mayor. Sorry. Thank you. Sorry. They encourage that because then they put the greater risk on the municipality. So it just means that they're having less of that, I guess. So they are able to drop the premium accordingly. There really isn't, I don't understand the difference that Cowan has in just that a smaller amount, but for whatever reason, BFL's was a larger one, so.
Your Worship, if I could through you, I don't think we can really comment on their pricing strategy. And what I can say is a higher deductible results in a lower premium, and how they've determined to price that increase or decrease in deductible, we can't really answer.
There was a tenfold differential between the two companies, which surprises me. My next question, if I may, is why do we have a recommendation to single source here? Isn't this process actually approving that we go forward?
Thank you, Mr. So a single source is when we recommend to go with a single provider based on some reasoning. In this case, we're not recommending we go back to market. It's been about 1.5 years since we went to market. So we don't believe we should go to market at this point. You can't market your insurance program too often or nobody will bid on it. We only got 3 bidders at the last time anyway. So in this case, we are recommending a single source, noting that we have 2 quotes. We have confidence of good competition, and we were to market 3 years ago, and really our recommendation is not far off what our second place in the marketing from last time was. So. But again, this technically falls into the definition of a single source procurement.
More of a technicality than more of a technicality. 2 sources seems to me pretty good.
Any other questions regarding the renewal of our insurance? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Ferrier.
Moved by myself, seconded by Member McAlpine, attendee COU 1927-PW-RFT 1909, hot mix paving, urban and rural roads, the parts B, Maple Ave North, C, Watts Pond Road, D, Falsetter Drive and Addie Dassler Way, and E, Augustus, Peter, and Finlay Streets, PW-RFT 1909, hot mix paving be awarded to Ecom Secom Incorporated. It sounds like a fake name, but okay. Brant Co-Construction for the total price of $634,084.50, excluding HST.
Are there any questions? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, Part A is missing. So my assumption is that if we were to go ahead with Part A, we would exceed our budget. And I'd be interested by just how much we would exceed the budget.
Almost 300,000.
And I'd just like to follow that up, that this is a pattern that is emerging this year, and I hope that as we go towards budgeting this year, we recognise the general rise in rates. And I know that Rob and his team are working through that, although the index that we use doesn't actually match the degree to which we underestimated this particular element. I have one more question, if I may.
Yes,
Part D, which is, I think, in the 403 Business Park. Just a surprise that we're having to do rework so soon on this, unless I'm misunderstanding it.
Through the mayor to Councillor Bell. The work there is the final lift of asphalt in that section of it, so this is the completion of it.
Any other questions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Councillor House.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Miller. Item 10E, COU-19-31 related to the OPP detachment, extension of water and wastewater services, and Ewart Avenue sanitary sewer extension as detailed on page 5 of the agenda.
I certainly hope no one has any questions against this. We'll be in big trouble. Any questions to Councillor House? Councillor Pierce?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Through you, I'm curious here. First of all, that's quite a long recommendation. And if you read through it, about the midway point, it talks of, and whereas a new Canesville Fire Hall located on Ewart Avenue, I'm trying to understand how the Canesville Fire Hall links into the conjunction of the extension of the water services for the OPP detachment.
We're going to find out in just a minute.
Through the mayor to Councillor Pierce. Actually, the report is for both the extension of water services to the OPP and the Ewart Ave sanitary.
Okay, so it's all in the same recommendation then?
That's right.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a long pipe. Any other questions to Councillor House? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Information reports. None? There are none. Communications. Do you want to have them separated or just have them all? Councillor Pierce, Councillor Miller, are you seconding it or do you want them separated?
No, I'd like A, B, and C separated out.
All right. Do you want to speak to A then?
Yeah, gladly. Delighted to see this. I kept it, the email, it's good. I'm just wondering if we are going to respond, who's responding on behalf of the county, and that's it.
We'll ask the solicitor. Do you want to respond to it?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, my suggestion is you refer this to staff for an appropriate response, and we've made this response many times, so we will.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, we just redid our insurance premium, so I think this has a lot to do with it. So, yeah, okay, do we need a motion then to refer that to staff? I'll also move that we refer
All
it
right,
to staff.
seeking a second to Councillor Pierce. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you.
In 12B, I mean, they are looking for an action. They're looking for a county of Brant representative.
Yeah.
And Mark, I know you are in talks with them, so.
I was approached actually by the condominium corporation member in Brantford, and they asked if there was anyone interested, and Councillor Ferry was interested. Is anyone else interested?
I live in a condo, and I've only ever lived in condos in the county, so I thought I'd hop on.
Kind of thought he was a good fit, but if anyone else is interested, we could always vote.
No?
No interest? Councillor Miller?
I guess what I would ask, and I think we should ask this a little more often, but that's a request from them, and that's fine. But is there a benefit to the county to do that? Perhaps, I don't know, maybe you get information from them for planning, I don't know, is it a two-way street? Because I see that you giving them information, but is it valuable? Is there value to the county, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Councillor Ferrier.
Yeah, I think it is in my estimation, and I'm volunteering to do it because of that. I know the City of Brantford council member sits on it, and we haven't sat on that table. With the increase in condo corporations in the county, and having lived in 2 condo corporations, I do think there is a bit of a disconnect with some of the county access, and I think by being on it, I might be able to improve that connection for residents.
Councillor House.
And just through you, Mr. Chair, further to that, I think as we move forward within our municipality, we're looking at different mixes of housing solutions at different price points, and condominiums may be part of that solution. So the more we know, the better, and if we're plugged into that, I think it's a benefit. I move that we respond positively with Mark Leferrier as being our county representative. Looking for a seconder.
Seconded. Councillor Miller, do you have anything
No,
else?
I was seconding, but.
So we have a seconder in Councillor Bell. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Good luck, Mark. Yikes. Wow. So are those, you want a number C separated too? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can I speak to it? I actually sent Wendy an email back.
Okay.
Because I felt a lot of what she was talking about in her email was a great email about environmental stewardship and solar and mixed energy use and what we can do around climate mitigation and change for those who haven't read it. We do a lot of this, and some of that I wasn't aware of until I got on council. Some of it I was. But we're actually, in my estimation, leaders in Southwestern Ontario on this file. So I was happy to send her a pretty detailed email with the things that I'm aware of that we do. So there was some correspondence back.
Councillor Miller?
I appreciate Councillor Ferrier with that response, because I was going to ask to you, Mayor Bailey, or the ward councillors, if they've responded to that. I thought it was a great letter. I really did. And what I liked was her enthusiasm. And I don't want to squander that kind of enthusiasm for somebody that's looking to make positive change. And I'm just wondering if we couldn't take that energy, enthusiasm, and make something better out of it. So I'll follow up if that's okay with you.
Maybe we could send a letter. I mean, it was a great letter. She's doing great work, and the link was very interesting. Maybe we could send her a letter from the county supporting her and telling her that if there was anything we can do in the future, we would. Councillor
I feel like we could do that, but we could also respond through our votes in the future when we do have more environmental stewardship votes and initiatives that'll come to this table over the rest of the term. I think we have to keep it in mind. I think there's a big appetite for that in our community.
Any other comments? All those in favor? Thank you. And number D. Recommend to receive as information. Councillor Pierce, Councillor Combe. Any conversation? If not, call the vote. Receive. All those in favor? Number E, Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. What do you want to do with that?
So moved. Receive.
To refer to staff, or, yeah, seconder? Councillor Ferrier. All those in favor? Thank you. Any other questions or resolutions? Other new business, Councillor Miller, you had 2.
I have 2, Mr. Mayor, thank you. First one is committees. I'm just trying to think how to word this properly. Anyways, I'm just, rather than cut off all ties with the Brantford Chamber of Commerce, because because we have a long history with the county. But I currently sit as the liaison on that, and I would wish to not sit on that. And I'm just wondering if there's another member around here that would be willing to sit on it. There's no meetings July and August. The next one would be September.
Okay. Okay, so you don't want to finish off the first year term? You want off now?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I should point out, I think, well, Mark and I did discuss it, because if he could take this on, he also sits on the Paris BIA, but I'll let him speak to that. And then there's another request, which hasn't come to council yet, from Councillor Carpenter in the city. They're looking for a liaison from this council to sit on the Elder Abuse Council, or Elder Abuse Committee. So, but I'll leave that till I'm hoping he has it for September.
Councillor Ferrier.
So just to fill folks in, I used to sit on the Brantford Chamber of Commerce as a youth entrepreneur and on a couple of committees when I was in business in Brantford, so I'd be happy to do that. That said, I have let the BIA know that I'm likely going to pass the baton to somebody else. I actually think that all the Paris councillors should rotate on that committee, in my personal opinion, because I think it'd be valuable for all. The Brant Elder Abuse Committee, I was asked to sit on that and I declined because of too many conflicts of interest with my profession, my social work profession. I used to chair it, and I just think it'd be best if somebody else was to sit on that for us. So I'd be happy to do that, because I will be moving some things around, and come December, January, we're going to reassign certain committee positions anyway, so getting a few ahead of time, I don't mind.
Anyone else interested in sitting on the chamber? No? Really, nobody? Okay, I guess we call the vote to appoint Mark to the committee. Do we have someone seconding that? McAlpine, thank you. All those in favor? Good luck again. And your second.
Well, yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I applaud Shady Acres for coming forward to our last planning committee. They are attempting to deal with year-round living. They're obviously in contravention of our bylaws, but like I say, they are dealing with it, and they made a planning application. Having said that, there's other trailer parks in the county that we have not seen at planning. We know they're in a somewhat similar boat. So I talked to Michael, and there is some willingness on Michael and his team to maybe talk to those trailer parks just to see where they're at and if there's a solution or something that can be worked out, worked on, so forth. So I'll make this a motion, and I'll seek a seconder, that the CAO be directed to bring forward a planning solution to the matter of year-round usage at existing trailer parks in the county of Brant to a future PAC meeting. So seeking a seconder, and I'll speak to it.
Thank you. Councillor Bell seconded your motion.
And again, in regards to Shady Acres, like I say, I think what they're doing, at least they're trying, and I don't know how that will turn out, but at the same time, we still have a problem, and I would like to see some solutions, and I think we all should. So I'll leave it at that.
Councillor Howes.
I agree with the spirit behind this motion, but my question is, this could be part of our housing solution, part of the mix of our housing solution throughout the county, if done properly. But I'm curious as to why we haven't seen more trailer parks, for lack of a better word, coming in. Like, shouldn't step one be they come to see us?
Councillor Miller.
Part of the problem is they don't know where to start. Right now, they're seeing bylaw, they're seeing public works, they're seeing the fire inspectors. It would be nice if maybe we could kind of, what I'm asking is maybe we take their hand and kind of guide them through the process.
Thank you.
Councillor Bell.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. In support of what David has proposed, Shady Acres represents effectively the standard, and I'm not, because I don't know the other trailer parks, I can't say whether they meet that standard. So I'd be supportive of the direction in which we want to go, but you know, I think we may have to bring people up to that standard if they're not there already.
Councillor Laferriere.
In my previous role, in my previous life as a social worker, I did have occasion to visit some of the other trailer parks in the county, and they're different. Each trailer park, or each park of this nature, whatever we want to call them, they do have different associations, different geography, different clientele. There's a lot there. I am supportive of Councillor Miller's motion, but staff, I hope, tread carefully because it's very complex. But I think by not including the others, where we're taking a complex situation and only focusing on one of the areas like this, I think that ignores the complexity. So more information, the better.
Any other conversation before we vote? So the motion is to give Michael and staff direction to make contact with the other trailer parks, recreational parks, whatever they're called. I don't know what the proper terminology is for them. Trailer parks works for this vote. No more conversation? Councillor Wheat?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not going to support the recommendation. I don't feel it's the mandate of the CAO to go out and seek that kind of information. I won't be supporting it.
Thank you. Any other conversation before we call the vote? Councillor Chambers?
And again, I'm not going to support the motion. I understand the intent. It is a complicated set of circumstances. I would sooner look at the circumstances at the beginning rather than to bring in the various components of the trailer park communities. So I would much sooner see a report and investigation on the merits of year-long use at trailer parks rather than bring them all in at the same time, given to the CEO to try and work out a solution. I'm not even sure what the solution that we're trying to get is. So I'm not going to support the motion. It's too vague, too broad, and we need to start in a different place.
Thank you. Councillor House?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Miller, would you be open to a friendly amendment that kind of reorganizes this into something that creates a framework by which we could outline the opportunities for the mobile home communities? I still struggle with the trailer park part. Would you be open to a modification?
Councillor Miller?
It's a good question. I think we got to walk before we run. And just right now, I think it's more important that we either get these guys up to compliance or we shut them down, one or the other, before we get into that. And what I'm asking for, and I'm not asking that comes, we see planning applications, but I think what we'd like to do is look at solutions. And any solutions or possible solutions would be vetted through PAC, and that's all I'm asking. So it's an ugly situation, but it's got to be worked on somewhere. And I did talk to one trailer park owner about that. He even said the same thing. He says you can't do both. You can't worry about affordable housing and getting his trailer park up to speed. It's too complicated at the moment.
Thank you. Councillor House?
Well, I guess I don't want to keep beating the same drum here, but I feel like we're putting our staff into a difficult position in terms of walking before we run. I do agree with taking some maybe preliminary steps here. Could staff speak to their recommendation on how we could approach this in a healthy way?
Mr. Bradley?
Thank you, Your Worship, and I hope I don't get myself in trouble. I wrote the recommendation for Councillor Miller, and the recommendation says for staff to bring forward a planning solution. So what we're going to do is we're going to go away, we're going to give this some thought. We've talked about it at length. It's a complicated situation. We'll come back with a solution for council to consider. It's not that we're going to, I don't think it was intended that we would be gathering the trailer park owners and occupants together. We may do that. We've had conversations with some of the owners. They're valuable resources in this topic. But we would bring back what we would call a solution, and I don't know what the solution actually is at this point. We have a good idea of a couple of options that we could give to council to address this concern. But you know, again, what the resolution proposes is that we bring back a planning solution for your consideration. It's not a Planning Act application, although that may trigger. Maybe the solution is for the county to undertake a Planning Act application of some forward on behalf of the trailer parks. And I'm gray out on the science of Planning Act applications. But so that's what's being proposed. It's basically for us to go away and put thought to this and come back with a solution, which I think is quite reasonable and we can do in short order. So.
Thank you. Councillor House.
Thank you, Michael. That really helps clarify things. I feel more comfortable in supporting this now. Thank you.
Councillor Chambers.
I'm just wondering if Michael could craft the resolution to reflect on what he just said, and then I would feel much more comfortable than drawing the camp owners together, kind of, not to disparage what David said, because the intent is the same, but if you could craft the resolution, I could probably support it.
Through you, Your Worship, and with due respect, I would suggest the resolution that the CAO be directed to bring forward a planning solution to the matter of year-round usage at existing trailer parks in the County of Brant to an upcoming meeting of the Planning Advisory Committee. And I think that's what I presented to Councillor Miller. I think there was some context that maybe confused that, but we'll take that as broad direction to dig into this, engage the owners as we see fit, and bring back what we believe is something that counts, maybe even more than one solution, but a suite of solutions or a single solution for committee to deal with. So.
Any last opinions or conversation before we call the vote? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thank you for offering to do that. I think it's very responsible for us to do that. We're going to move in camera. Councillor Pierce.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bell, that the Brant County Council convene in camera to consider a personal matter about an identifiable individual. And if I could add a slight amendment to that, it is it's my thing here, and I would like all staff to leave the room as well. I would like the CAO to remain and the clerk to remain, and I would like all staff to leave as well.
Thank you. So if we could just clear the room, please. We're back. We're out of camera. Number 17 is bylaws. Councillor Bell.
Following bylaws, they being bylaw number 9419 through to 11219, be now read the first time.
Oh, call. All those in favor? Sorry.
Bylaws, second reading. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pierce, that the following bylaws be now read a second time, and all clauses and preambles be adopted. Those bylaws being 9419 through to 11219.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor?
Bylaws, third reading. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Pierce, that the following bylaws, being bylaws number 9419
All those in favor? Opposed? Next meeting is Tuesday, September the 24th. If I could just remind council that that in-camera meeting means exactly that. And looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor LaFerriere. We stand adjourned.